Hi friends, I'm doing a review of a beer I had once before. Actually on my birthday last year, I had a kind of fresh bottle of the Cantillon Classic Gueuze. That bottle was like 9 months old. This one is over 2 years old. So I thought it might be a little better to do a review of this one. I loved it when it was fresh. Lots of funk, pretty soft, not too sour. That's one thing that I don't really like about a lot of sour beers basically these days. I can't take ridiculous amounts of acidity, and Cantillon beers I've had from them have never been overbearing in that, and they've had just enough nice barnyard funk. And I'm expecting a 2 years for this one to be in really good shape. I already kind of started getting ready to open it, just in case anything bad would happen. So it was bottled May 17th of 2016. And we got some yeasty stuff happening in there. You can smell some funkiness already. There is a very small amount of sediment forming in there. But it's just their standard Gueuze. 5%? Doesn't even say on here. But yeah, I believe it's 5%. Let's go at it. So there's nothing special about this one except that it is a Gueuze 1, 2, and 3-year-old spontaneously fermented beer. And I've had this in my fridge for quite a while, so I guess for like maybe only a few days, but really interesting look there. The bubbles are coming up really slowly, and it didn't gush or anything. It's not even a crazy amount of carbonation on there. Really cool looking beer. Cap of foam. Probably will stick around for a little while. Looks good. It looks pretty dense. And I might have to free my cat. I accidentally locked him in here. And it's pretty clear. I left a little bit in the bottom there, but it is cool how it like poured looking thick, and the bubbles are so small and coming up so slowly that it almost looked like it was some kind of 15% alcohol beer, but not at all. I feel like maybe it's lost a little funk after 2 years. It's hard to tell. Some of these beers, like, I mean, when the beer was put in this bottle, it was already mostly really old beer. As opposed to like Orval, where when it's put in the bottle, then they add the Brettanomyces. So if you have it fresh, it's not going to be really that funky. But with this one, the beer is already funky when you put it in there. So it's hard to know whether it's going to get funkier, less funky, get more acidic. I think it depends on, whether it's been in the bottle for 2 years as opposed to 5 years or 1 year. I don't know enough about specifically Cantillon Lambic and what it usually does with age. But it's really fruity. Big on the juicy but pretty tart smelling stone fruits. And a very winey. Lots of oak in the nose. And some funk. I feel like the bottle I had that was really fresh was a little bit funkier. Definitely noticing the funk though, but it isn't enough that it would be off-putting to most people, I think. Just a little bit barnyardy, mushroomy, hay notes. But it's still getting plenty of winey barrel. Got some body to it. Carbonation, yeah, is not crazy on this. I almost wish it was a little bit more carbonated. I just kept it, I didn't really keep it temperature controlled or anything, so there's probably a little bit extra fermentation in the bottle. But it finishes really oaky still. Tannins aren't drying it out so much though. Yeah, well, that's my favorite thing about some really well-made barrel-aged beers and lambics is that even though they're lower alcohol, they still have a surprising amount of body. I think that is in part the structure that's brought by the tannins from the wood, but it's also, I think it must be the way they brew it, the special turbid, 40% wheat mash that they use adds some nice body to it, even though these beers are like, bone dry. Yeah, it gets mushroomy, foresty, woodsy on the palate. I get a mineral quality too. It finishes. It's not quite correct to use the word clean here, but the finish is somehow clean, and it's really easy. The acid level seemed higher at first. It comes out more in the nose. It's lots of bright citric fruits, but then you drink it and it's like, oh, no burn really at all. Yeah, very pleasant, but it does seem like it's just a tad lower carb than what I'm used to in the Cantillon beers in general. Maybe if I pour a little bit at the bottom in there, won't really get all the sediment. You can see those bubbles flying around like crazy and then slowly coming up. Pretty cool beer. Yeah, the funk builds up. The combination of that oak and barnyard, it gives. I use this term for like fresh diaper. I don't know. It doesn't really describe it that well. It's not quite rubbery, so that would be a big off flavor. But it's something uniquely funky. It's somewhere between diaper, hay, slight rubbery things, but it's more like hay. I guess the hay is coming from the oakiness too, maybe, but it's one of these flavors that I mostly only get in lambics. Some really, really well-made barrel-aged beers from America, but a lot of barrel-aged beers from America, sour beers, are just big on fruits or big on the sourness, and there isn't a lot of subtle complexity and the interplay of the ingredients and Brettanomyces funkiness and all that. This definitely has a lot of really unique notes that I might struggle to even pick out, and that's why it's really, really great beer. And I've really enjoyed every Cantillon beer I've had. There's just so much going on in this, but it's so easy to drink. And there's such quality in there. Like, even though the carbs seemed a little bit lower, it's like it's still got plenty, and it's like really cool how the bubbles stick to the side of the glass when I bring it up. I think that is a note of intense, fine, natural carbonation. Yeah, that's really nice. I guess with it being a little bit more aged, it loses a little bit of the body and a little bit of the funkiness, but there's some really interesting fruity notes that are coming out more now, perhaps. A lot of stone fruit, citrus stuff happening, along with plenty of white wine. But a lot of that, I think, is coming from the use of the barrel, because I'm pretty sure that all these barrels they use are just old wine barrels, and they use a blend of them. But I'd give this 4.5, 4.75. It's fantastic. It's not gonna like explode your palate or anything, and that's what a lot of people are looking for these days. But it seems like even with the kind of steadier hand that Cantillon has, Americans still go crazy for it and give it super high ratings, which it definitely deserves. I haven't had many of the Dry Fontaine beers. At least I haven't gotten my hands on them so that I would do a review by myself of them. But some of those have been very, very good. But I feel like those were a little bit more sour than Cantillon. Well, I just love this beer. You don't need to have lots of fruit in it to get lots of complexity. People go crazy for Fufun, their apricot ones, and their peach ones and all that. But don't pass this one up, especially because it's much more easy to get your hands on this one. This is the one that people pass up on, and it's not going to have the price jacked up as much. So just do this if you can get this. Just, I highly recommend it. It is better than almost any barrel aged beer I've had from America, honestly. At least it just suits my tastes really well, and it should suit yours and be a good intro, I think, for people to the lambic style who've had a lot of bad ones or ones that are too sour, or fake lambics that are back sweetened. So yeah, at least 4.5 for this. Very nice beer.